right, everyone, how's it going? Good afternoon. As you heard, I'm Brad. I lead the cloud engineering and SRE team at Gopuff. It's great to be back in Manhattan. I actually used to work over at 30 Rock about 10 years ago. Back then, observability mostly meant checking Kibana or server logs right after doing a release to see if you imploded anything, but we've come a long way. Times have definitely changed. And I want to talk about a journey many of you are likely on, scaling observability without losing control of your budget or your sanity. At GoPuff, we've moved beyond just monitoring and into a phase where our telemetry stack is a strategic asset for our entire business. So GoPuff, anyone use GoPuff here? Just a few. Okay, cool. I was thinking about actually having a GoPuff order delivered here, but we're an instant commerce platform that is vertically integrated over 400 plus facilities, covering about 90% of the top market areas in the US and the UK. We also have key partnerships with Starbucks, Disney, and Uber Eats. So with 4 engineers on our cloud team and 4 engineers on our SRE and 100 plus engineers on our product teams, this migration was an org-wide effort. Also, I just wanted to give a shout out to Baz and Dylan from Grafana. Big help with that project. Baz helped migrate over 500 dashboards, a ton of alerts from our previous vendor, who will rename nameless, but it was a big effort, and we did it in pretty quick time. So at GoPuff, our mission is to deliver daily essentials in minutes. And when you're promising instant, your infrastructure can't have many bad days. We manage over 500 microservices across AWS, GCP, and Azure. When we moved to Grafana Cloud in 2024, our goal wasn't just to cut costs. It was to build something we could grow into. It was to reach a new level of telemetry, a state where our data is so standardized and turnkey that it becomes a foundation for intelligent automation. More to that later, but essentially we wanted to build a stack clean enough for AI to eventually manage. So why did we leave our previous vendor? Well, it came down to the observability tax. Our costs were doubling year over year, but our insights weren't. We felt locked into a proprietary ecosystem that somewhat punished us for scaling. And I want to be specific about what that looked like in practice. So teams started self-censoring their instrumentation. Engineers were asking, should I add this metric? Instead of, what do I need to add, or what do I need to do to improve observability? So that's a cultural shift driven by the wrong incentives, right? When your observability tool makes you hesitate about observing something needs to change, right? Something needs to change, right? So we chose Grafana for its open source roots. It aligns with our engineering culture, transparency, flexibility, and no vendor lock-in. If we ever need to self-host for compliance or hyper-optimization, the LGTM stack gives us that exit ramp that proprietary vendors do not offer. So here we've got our nervous system is the LGTM stack. Loki handles our logs. It's cost effective because it indexes metadata and not every single string of text. Grafana is our dashboards and alerts and kind of all the connective tissue to manage our teams. Tempo gives us a distributed tracing, super important when an order can hit or touch 20 different services. And lastly, Mimir provides us that long-term storage for our Prometheus metrics. One thing people underestimate is the toil of managing metric tags at scale. With our previous vendor, every unique tag combination had billing implications. So engineers were spending real time auditing and pruning labels just to keep costs in check. That's cognitive overhead that has nothing to do with actually understanding our systems, right? With Mimir and Adaptive Telemetry, cardinality is a technical problem you solve once, not something you have to monitor daily. This stack didn't just replace our old tools, it unified our language. Our SREs and devs now speak that same dialect of PromQL and LogQL. This is important, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So how do we keep it at scale? We use Alloy as our primary telemetry agent. It's incredibly efficient at pre-processing data before it hits Grafana Cloud, if need to. But the real hero is Adaptive Telemetry. It automatically identifies high cardinality metrics that no one is actually querying and helps us prune the noise. Similar concepts for sampling logs and traces, which is a great choice. We also heavily use the K6 operator with Kubernetes. We can't wait for a marketing promo or Super Bowl to find our limits. That can get super expensive. So we use K6 to stress test our UAT environments, get those tests in place, and then we'll run them against production, off-peak times, of course, and really try to find those bottlenecks. Lastly, we have sampling exclusions, an escape hatch for dev teams to get unsampled logs for debugging. All right, so the business results were quite staggering. We achieved a 40% reduction in total observability spend. And I want to pull back the curtain on how we got there, because 40% savings sounds like magic. It wasn't. We did a full audit of what we were actually querying versus what we were ingesting. The gap was pretty shocking. We had entire service categories that generating metrics that hadn't been opened in a dashboard in months. Adaptive Telemetry put a number on that waste and gave us the confidence to cut it. The other piece was cardinality discipline. High cardinality labels, things like user IDs or non-parameterized URLs and metric labels, were silently ballooning our costs. We now have a cardinality review as part of our audit process for any new instrumentation. In engineering terms, this freed up enough budget to hire 2 more SREs. But efficiency isn't just about money, it's about focus. So, example, I mean, we integrated our alerting with our internal service catalog. So now if an alert fires, it's routed with full context and a runbook to the service owners. We've moved from alert fatigue to actionable insights, allowing our team to focus on innovation rather than maintenance. And let's talk a little bit about Grafana Cloud K6. We use the K6 operator for recurring stress tests in UAT and production. During high traffic windows like holidays or the Super Bowl, we've already seen the failure modes because we've simulated them weeks prior. This has drastically improved our capacity planning. We no longer over-provision just in case. We provision based on the hard data we gathered during our last K6 run. It's a difference between being a reactive SRE team and a proactive one. All right. If you're looking to make a similar move, here's what we've learned. First, control your data. Don't let a vendor's billing model dictate your visibility. Use adaptive telemetry to prune the noise so you can afford to keep the signals that actually matter. Second, use industry standards. By switching to Prometheus-style metrics and open telemetry, our engineers were productive on day one. And all of us, we loathe migrations in this industry, but actually was very surprised about how engineers wanted to dive into Prometheus. It was pretty shocking, but it makes sense. Finally, standardize the turnkey experience. We prefer the speed of the Grafana UI over Terraform for dashboards. That might be an unpopular decision, but we like to focus on just teams using them, not having to go through a lot of red tape to make changes to dashboards. So what we do is we have more of a focus on golden single templates. So those templates can be copied, and that ensures that our interface feels familiar across all the teams, and that's worked really well for us. So where are we headed? We've reached a point where our telemetry is turnkey, but the North Star is autonomous infrastructure. We're building toward an AI agent that lives in our Grafana dashboards. The reason we moved to an industry standards like Prometheus and open telemetry is that they are the perfect fuel for AI. For example, imagine an agent that looks at a week of Kubernetes resource metrics and your last K6 stress test and says, hey, your checkout service is over provisioned by 30%. Here's a PR to adjust your K8, your Kubernetes limits, right? We want our telemetry to be a set of instructions for an automated, more efficient future. Now, I want to be honest about where we actually are versus where we are going, because I think a lot of AI roadmap talks conflate the two, but today we have the data foundation. We have standardized, clean, low noise telemetry that an AI agent can actually reason about without getting confused by cardinality explosions or inconsistent label schemas. What we're actually or actively building is the feedback loop, closing the gap between the agent identifies an opportunity and the agent takes a safe scoped action. The guardrails matter as much as the intelligence here. An agent that confidently scales down the wrong service at 2 a.m. is worse than no agent at all. So our near-term work is on safe action boundaries and human-in-the-loop confirmation for anything touching production. The vision is autonomous, but the path here is measured. We've come a long way since we started this journey, and it's just getting interesting. So thanks a lot.